This is a sutta called a wanderer. So a certain Brahmin approaches the Blessed One and says to him, Master Gautama, it is said, a directly visible Dhamma. A directly visible Dhamma. I think you translated that sanditiko as verifiable. So we could say a verifiable Dhamma. A verifiable Dhamma. In what way is the Dhamma verifiable? Immediate, reachable, inviting one to come
attainable,
and see, practical, and to be personally experienced
by the discerning.
Yeah. And the Buddha says, Brahman, one excited by lust, overcome by lust, with a mind obsessed by it, intends for his own affliction, for the affliction of others, or for the affliction of both, and he experiences mental suffering and dejection and sadness. But when lust is abandoned, he does not intend for his own affliction, for the affliction of others, or for the affliction of both, and he does not experience mental suffering and sadness. One excited by lust, overcome by lust, with mind obsessed by it, engages in misconduct of body, speech, and mind. But when lust is abandoned, he does not engage in misconduct. One excited by lust, overcome by lust, with mind obsessed by it, does not understand as it really is his own good, the good of others, or the good of both. But when lust is abandoned, he understands as it really is his good, the good of others, and the good of both. It is in this way, Brahman, that the Dhamma is directly verifiable. And so on with hate and delusion. So the Dhamma is directly visible here and now. You don't have to wait.
Exactly. You don't have to wait, and you don't have to take it on mere faith alone either. Because it's not about, like, the whole the Dhamma, the whole Nibbana, the enlightenment, the whole experience of enlightenment. It's nothing other than complete uprooting of lust, aversion, and delusion/distraction. It's not a mystical experience or some great heavenly reward. The only reason you're subject to suffering, misery, and everything else in this life, it's lust, aversion, delusion. And if you remove that in this life, you will not be subjected to those things anymore, and you would see that directly for yourself. And that's the relief, that's the release, that's the enlightenment, that's the quenching of the mind, cooling down, and so on, all the similes in the suttas for Nibbana. And that is directly verifiable. You can experience it here and now if you are the discerning one, if you make the effort to discern things and then obviously apply that discernment. Because many, like religions or teachers even back in the time, would be teaching you one thing or the other with sort of, future results that you kind of have to take on faith, in a sense of, well, next life I guarantee you heavenly rebirths, like the whole Christianity, the heaven, the idea of heaven, for example. That is the ultimate reward. There are rewards you get in this life by being virtuous, in other religions as well, but the ultimate reward, it's what's after. Well, not in the Dhamma. The Dhamma, the ultimate reward is here and now, visible. You cannot be touched by suffering of any kind. It doesn't apply to you anymore. Plus, there are future rewards, sure, but you don't need to worry about that. They will become apparent either through a practice of here and now, or even if they don't, doesn't matter. What is directly verifiable? It's to be known individually by any individual who is discerning enough, and obviously who makes enough effort in that direction. And what is that verifiable thing? Is that removal of lust, removal of aversion, removal of distraction, not perpetuating it through the actions by body, speech, and mind, will liberate you here and now. Visibly, you will see it. It cannot be doubted, it cannot be shaken, it cannot be taken away. So you cannot have a more immediate proof. And that's what it was said even in one sutta, maybe Venerable Ananda, and somebody was asking the Buddha, there's an arahant, a person who became fully enlightened, they enjoy the pleasure of enlightenment, of the pleasure of release, the freedom. Or does that stay all the time with them, or they kind of go back to normal, so to speak, in terms of they don't feel that elation anymore of the great release and relief. And the Buddha said, no, it doesn't stay. You get used to it, becomes your norm, enlightened mind. But you would re-experience it, the joy of your freedom, of your release and relief and cooling down, every time you were to encounter things that used to induce lust, aversion, or distraction in your mind. So you might accidentally stumble upon things that used to make you angry or something, and now you realize there's no more anger, there's no more basis, there's no more possibility for anger or lust or any perturbing of the mind, and that reminds you of how free you are, and you experience the joy of freedom again every time you these things pop up. But that is, as I said, there's nothing that can come between you and that if you have uprooted greed, aversion, lust, aversion, delusion. So it's the most verifiable thing that you can access. That's why it's reachable. That's why it's sort of encouraging, inviting, and so on. Yeah, no, look, I'm not saying like you must follow me at the face value and then in 10 lifetimes you'll be rewarded or something. No. You need to take my teaching on faith in the sense of you need to take the doctor's instruction on faith, but soon enough you will see if it's the right instruction or not. If you start applying it rightly, you should be curing yourself, and that's something you cannot doubt. And that's why the people who did develop the right view and free themselves from suffering, in the suttas they said if the whole world says the Buddha was wrong, I know he's right. And it wasn't because of some misguided fundamentalism or something, or conviction. No, it's because, no, I am literally cured. I cannot suffer on account of his instruction. Mm-hmm. So the world is wrong if they say that that's not right. Because I have verified it for myself, I'm incapable of experiencing dukkha again because of uprooting of lust, aversion, delusion. So it's the world is wrong then if they disagree with that. That's it. Not like, oh, I fight the whole world and I defend my teacher out of my faith. No. I have directly verified it for myself, and it just cannot be doubted, cannot be taken away. That's why it's the unshakable liberation that the suttas will refer to.
And the Dhamma is practical. It's a practical teaching.
Exactly. Like the only way to see whether the Dhamma is what the Dhamma says it is, whether the Dhamma will result in freedom from suffering, liberation, is to apply it. To actually do it, and that's an important thing.
Because if it remains an abstract theory,
exactly. Well, if you are not
it cannot be verified.
Practically applying yourself, you're not doing it. And if you're not doing it, you cannot verify it. And if you cannot verify it, it's not a Dhamma.